Moreover, we are poised to end these wars from a position of strength. "10 years ago, there was an open wound and twisted steel, a broken heart in the center of the city. Today, as a new tower is rising at ground zero, it symbolizes New York's renewal. Even as Al-Qaeda is under more pressure than ever before. Its leadership has been degraded. And Osama bin Laden. A man who murdered thousands of people from dozens of countries, will never endanger the peace of the world again. So, yes, this has been a difficult decade. But today, we stand at a crossroads of history with the chance to move decisively in the direction of peace. To do so, we must return to the wisdom of those who created this institution. The United Nations Founding Charter calls upon us to unite our strength to maintain international peace and security. And Article 1 of this General Assembly's Universal Declaration of Human Rights reminds us that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. Those bedrock beliefs in the responsibility of states, and the rights of men and women must be our guide. And in that effort, we have reason to hope. This year has been a time of extraordinary transformation. More nations have stepped forward to maintain international peace and security. And more individuals are claiming their universal right to live in freedom and dignity. Think about it, 1 year ago, when we met here in New York. The prospect of a successful referendum in South Sudan was in doubt. but the international community overcame old divisions to support the agreement that had been negotiated to give South Sudan self-determination. And last summer, as a new flag went up in Juba, former soldiers laid down their arms, men and women wept with joy. And children finally knew the promise of looking to a future that they will shape. One year ago, the people of Côte d'Ivoire approached a landmark election. And when the incumbent lost, and refused to respect the results, the world refused to look the other way. UN peacekeepers were harassed, but they did not leave their posts. The Security Council, led by the United States and Nigeria and France, came together to support the will of the people. And Côte d'Ivoire is now governed by the man who was elected to lead. One year ago, the hopes of the people of Tunisia were suppressed. But they chose the dignity of peaceful protest over the rule of an iron. Fist. A vendor lit a spark that took his own life, but he ignited a movement. In the face of a crackdown, students spelled out the word, freedom. The balance of fear shifted from the ruler to those that he ruled. And now the people of Tunisia are preparing for elections that will move them one step closer to the democracy that they deserve. One year ago, Egypt had known one president for nearly 30 years. But for 18 days, the eyes of the world were glued to Tahrir Square, where Egyptians from all walks of life, men and women, young and old, Muslim and Christian, demanded their universal rights. We saw in those protesters the moral force of non-violence that has lit the world from Delhi to Warsaw. From Selma to South Africa, and we knew that change had come to Egypt and to the Arab world. One year ago, the people of Libya were ruled by the world's longest-serving dictator. But faced with bullets and bombs and a dictator who threatened to hunt them down like rats, they showed relentless bravery. We will never forget the words of the Libyan who stood up in those early days of the revolution and said, "Our words are free now. It's a feeling you can't explain." Day after day. In the face of bullets and bombs, the Libyan people refused to give back that freedom. And when they were threatened by the kind of mass atrocity that often went unchallenged in the last century, the United Nations lived up to its charter. The Security Council authorized all necessary measures to prevent a massacre. The Arab League called for this effort. Arab nations joined a NATO-led coalition that halted Gaddafi's forces in their tracks. In the months that followed, the will of the coalition proved unbreakable. And the will of the Libyan people could not be denied. "42 years of tyranny was ended in 6 months. From Tripoli to Misrata to Benghazi today, Libya is free. Yesterday, the leaders of a new Libya took their rightful place beside us. And this week, the United States is reopening our embassy in Tripoli. This is how the international community is supposed to work: nations standing. Together for the sake of peace and security, and individuals claiming their rights. Now, all of us have a responsibility to support the new Libyan government as they confront the challenge of turning this moment of promise into a just and lasting peace for all Libyans. So this has been a remarkable year. The Gaddafi regime is over. Gbagbo, Ben Ali, Mubarak are no longer in power. Osama bin Laden is gone, and the idea that change could only come through violence has been buried with him. Something is happening in our world. The way things have been is not the way that they will be. The humiliating grip of corruption and tyranny is being pried open. Dictators are on notice. Technology is putting power into the hands of the people. The youth are delivering a powerful rebuke to dictatorship, and rejecting the lie that some races some peoples, some religions, some ethnicities do not desire democracy. The promise written down on paper all human beings are. Born free and equal in dignity and rights is closer at hand. But let us remember, peace is hard. Peace is hard. Progress can be reversed. Prosperity comes slowly. Societies can split apart. The measure of our success must be whether people can live in sustained freedom, dignity, and security. And the United Nations and its member states must do their part. To support those basic aspirations. And we have more work to do. In Iran, we've seen a government that refuses to recognize the rights of its own people. As we meet here today, men and women and children are being tortured, detained and murdered by the Syrian regime. Thousands have been killed, many during the holy time of Ramadan. Thousands more have poured across Syria's borders. The Syrian people have shown dignity and courage in their pursuit of justice, protesting peacefully. Standing silently in the streets, dying for the same values that this institution is supposed to stand for. And the question for us is clear: will we stand with the Syrian people, or with their oppressors? Already, the United States has imposed strong sanctions on Syria's leaders. We supported a transfer of power that is responsive to the Syrian people. And many of our allies have joined in this effort. But for the sake of Syria and the peace and security of the world, we must speak. With one voice. There's no excuse for inaction. Now is the time for the United Nations. Security Council to sanction the Syrian regime, and to stand with the Syrian people. Throughout the region, we will have to respond to the calls for change. In Yemen, men, women, and children gather by the thousands in towns and city squares every day with the hope. That their determination and spilled blood will prevail over a corrupt system. America supports those aspirations. We must work with Yemen's neighbors and our partners around the world to seek a path that allows for a peaceful transition of power from President Saleh, and a movement to free and fair elections as soon as possible. In Bahrain, steps have been taken toward reform and accountability. We're pleased with that, but more is required. America is a close friend of Bahrain, and we will continue to call on the government and the main opposition. Block the fake to pursue a meaningful dialogue that brings peaceful change that is responsive to the people. We believe the patriotism that binds Bahrainis together must be more powerful than the sectarian forces that would tear them apart. It will be hard, but it is possible. We believe that each nation must chart its own course to fulfill the aspirations of its people. And America does not expect to agree with every party or person who expresses themselves politically. But we will always stand up for the universal rights that were embraced by this assembly. Those rights depend on elections that are free and fair, on governance that is transparent and accountable. Respect for the rights of women and minorities. Justice that is equal and fair. That is what our people deserve. Those are the elements of peace that can last. Moreover, the United States will continue to support those nations that transition to democracy with greater trade and investment so that freedom is followed by opportunity. We will pursue a deeper engagement with governments. But also with civil society, students and entrepreneurs, political parties, and the press. We have banned those who abuse human rights from traveling to our country. And we've sanctioned those who trample on human rights abroad. And we will always serve as a voice for those who've been silenced.